Putting Toulouse behind us, we look ahead to Widnes against York this weekend. Hello and welcome to Widnes Rugby Chat episode 49. I'm joined this week by Gavin Wilson from York City Knights, so we'll have a chat with Gav in a second. Just before we get cracking on all that though, thanks as always to partners PD Law Solicitors, Arnold Gorse Financial Management, Parklands FC and Whistle. I'm not going to say too much about the weekend yet because I'm sure me and Gav will have some words, but Widnes due to play York at home this Sunday, 16th of May. Unfortunately, there was no movement of the game to the Monday, which is what we've seen with a few other clubs. And Gavin, I don't know whether York were approached. I don't know if you can offer any insight into that. My understanding is that York weren't approached to move the game.
No, as far as I know, we weren't even approached. But obviously, with us being a part-time team as well, it kind of worked into our schedules and our timings and that with the lads and their work and stuff. So we weren't exactly pressing for it to go ahead on the Monday night. Anyway, it would have been a fairly long trip, I think.
Yeah, that's
on a Monday.
Yeah.
After work, but happy for it to be on Sunday afternoon and looking forward to what will hopefully be a good game.
Yeah, I think. I'd heard there was something around the council just couldn't get the required COVID measures in place in time. That was one I'd heard the other week. But looking at the championship fixtures that have been moved, they're all, I think, Featherstone are playing Oldham, which is obviously not a massive trek. Swinton are playing Dewsbury, which again isn't terribly far, and I think Dewsbury were quite keen to help the game. And then Bradford and Newcastle, where I think majority of Newcastle's players are based Yorkshire, Lancashire way anyway, so it's probably easier for them to get to Bradford than it would be to get to Newcastle anyway.
The Bradford Newcastle game's been moved to the following the first weekend in June.
Is that what that was this morning? I did see, because I looked on the BBC website the other day and those were the three, but then I did see that I'd seen Bradford had tweeted something. I just didn't put two and two together, to be honest.
Yeah, both them two have got they've got this weekend off now, and they're back. They play this game and the first weekend of June, which I think is a Challenge Cup semi-final weekend.
Right, I'm with you. Well, yeah, you've clearly got your finger on the pulse more so than I have. So obviously York have sort of had a mixed start to the season. In terms of obviously everyone was talking about York. Clearly with the Super League bid and stuff like that, and some of the signings that the club had made together. Just let us know how it's gone so far this season.
Yeah, it has been a mixed bag. I would probably give the team a B- so far after the first few months of the season. I think what happened was the team, the club, had an excellent pre-season. Obviously, we've had a long time to prepare after what went on last year. We put together a brilliant team. It's probably one of the best I've seen in my lifetime supporting York, with some great youth and experience in there, a lot of Super League experience. And they had an excellent pre-season, but then in the final week of pre-season, a week before we were due to play Hull in our pre-season friendly to cap off pre-season, one of our signings, Morgan Smith, the half-back from London Broncos, did his ACL in a training ground collision. And I think that kind of just put the whole team just offset a little bit, really. I mean, after Brendan O'Hagan and Morgan Smith spent 3 months together working in pre-season and learning how each other play and learning combinations and stuff, all of a sudden we had to bring in a young lad from Warrington on a season-long loan, Riley Dean, who's only 18 or 19, and while he's a classy player, I mean, he's straight out of the academy, so it kind of put us on the back foot a little bit with regards to like attacking structure and cohesion, and we did well to start off the season. Two games in the Challenge Cup, away at Sheffield and then away at London, and we won both of those, and we looked good in the Challenge Cup, and then we had Toulouse at home in our first game, and obviously they're one of the best teams in the league, as you guys obviously found out at the weekend, but. Toulouse at home, and we were getting on top of them after the first 20 minutes. It was quite a good, evenly matched game. And then our other halfback then went down with a hamstring strain, Brendan O'Hagan from Australia. So it's been really tough. We've had different halfback combinations in almost every game we've played, until recently, where we've settled on Matty Marsh, who's normally our fullback, and the young lad Riley Dean, as I mentioned earlier. They're kind of getting a bit of a partnership together now, and kind of getting a bit settled. And we picked up. It was a disappointing defeat at home to Sheffield, but then we bounced back and then picked up a resounding win at Swinton, and back that up with a win at Dewsbury, which is always a tough place to go. So, yeah, we're there or thereabouts. We had a really good game against Featherstone this weekend, and I mean, obviously, I don't know if many people saw it or saw the highlights, but I mean, Riley Dean had the opportunity to win the game with a drop goal with 90 seconds to go, and it got charged down by Dane Chisholm, and then the bounce of the ball went Craig Orr's way, and he went the length of the field. So, I mean, that's how close and tight it is in this division this year, and any game can be won by anyone on their day. And it's a really exciting division, and York are there. They're not a million miles away. I think we just need to get a few of our bodies back, certainly in attacking positions, and I think we'll start to pick up a few more wins, hopefully.
Yeah, I mean, I'm very... Clearly everyone gets hit by injuries, and I'm a bit like a broken record on these, because, you know, Widnes have basically lost Logan Tompkins in the pre-season, and that's left them without a hooker, and I think that is a major reason why Widnes have struggled so far this season, because, you know, when you lose key players and key positions, it has a massive impact. And it's slightly different to York's situation, because Tompkins he wasn't even fit for pre-season. So I suppose you can say, well, Widnes have at least had the pre-season to prepare for it. But, you know, clearly last weekend, yeah, you know, close game for York. I mean, I don't know what you think. I'm sort of the opinion that Toulouse and Featherstone maybe are the best two teams, and then pretty much everyone else underneath that, you're almost at the moment, you struggle to pick the four that you think would maybe make the playoffs. It seems, looking at the results, people have, you know, I think one week you see Oldham beat Halifax, and then Whitehaven beat Oldham, and you know, and then Halifax have beat London. But you know what I mean? It's very up and down with everyone, it seems, at the moment.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, York have played both Toulouse and Featherstone now, and to be fair, we weren't a million miles away from either of them. There were 2 scores against Toulouse and 1 score against Featherstone. So we're not a million miles away from that level of those top 2. But yeah, I would say they are clear front runners at the moment. But yeah, I think it's just down to consistency in the championship this year, and whoever puts together the best string of results and keeps them performances at the level needed will find themselves in the playoff spots, because I think everyone's going to be taking points off everyone else pretty much every week now.
Yeah, let's touch on Widnes then a little bit. We sort of had a chat just before we came on about, you know, a crushing defeat for Widnes, really, 70-0 against Toulouse, a joint record club defeat. I was at the game, and Toulouse clearly far superior to Widnes in every department. I don't really see, and I said this to you, I don't see the point particularly in full-time teams playing part-time teams necessarily anymore, but then I did make the point that, well, when Widnes were full-time, they never seemed to dismantle part-time teams like Widnes have suffered this year. What is the, you know, from an outsider's point of view, what are people thinking about Widnes at the moment and where they're at?
I think Saturday was just a bad day at the office. I think you probably got off on the wrong foot, and once you do that against a team like Toulouse, when they get a roll on, they're very hard to stop. Especially on it's quite a wide pitch, isn't it, at Haywood?
Yeah.
Swinton. And Toulouse are quite well known for throwing the ball around, and they like their second phase rugby, and teams will really struggle to come up against that when they're below par, and when Toulouse are in the mood where just everything sticks. I wouldn't necessarily place too much emphasis on that result. It was a bit of a freak result, but I think the best thing that you can kind of do is kind of just put it to the back of your heads and just focus on getting the basics right against York this weekend. And if you do that, I think it will be a very tough, close game. I know for a fact that Fordy and the York team, they'll not be taking it lightly, and they'll not be looking at last week's score and thinking, oh well, we just have to turn up and win here. They'll know that they have to work hard, and they'll be expecting a tough, close game.
Yeah, I think you're probably right in isolation about the Toulouse game. I think, you know, clearly Widnes fans have pointed to the fact that Batley turned Widnes over really easily. Dewsbury beat Widnes relatively comfortably as well, and then the draw against Newcastle was disappointing. It just seems that something after the 70th minute at Newcastle in the very first game, something's not quite been right about where Widnes is at, to the point where I don't think many people will watch the game on Sunday thinking that Widnes have got a chance. To be honest, I think that's where Widnes are at, and it's sort of a little bit different. I suppose it's almost like the clash of two clubs on sort of different trajectories at the moment. Clearly York have got a lot to be positive about and a lot sort of potential, whereas it almost feels like Widnes are going the other way, if that makes sense. Clearly, even though York's a traditional rugby league name, I think there's been a team since 1901 or something like that. It must be quite exciting to see that opportunity and potential of York now. There's no sort of football league teams. There's not really a great deal of competition, is there, around that area? And now with the new stadium, just talk to us a little bit about that potential and where you see it potentially going.
Yeah, it's very exciting. Certainly, I know I work for the club, but also I'm a fan first and foremost as well, and it's one of the most exciting times I've ever experienced as a York Rugby League fan. It's great. I mean, obviously, when the Knights first came back out of the ashes of the old York Wasps Rugby Club, that was an exciting time with Steve Ferris running the show and Lee Jackson and Paul Broadbent and big names like that involved at the Knights, and we got big crowds down at Huntington, and it was a good vibe. But now, 20 years on, we've kind of got that good vibe back again under John Flatman and James Ford, and since 2017, it's just been on that upward trajectory, like you say. The final building block, which we'd all been working so hard towards for so many years, was the new stadium, and we're finally in there now, and it's an absolutely fantastic facility. I've been lucky enough to experience a few games there now behind closed doors, and we're very excited that the next game against Oldham will have a good crowd there, all being well, and we can obviously sell every available ticket that we'll be allowed to sell, and hopefully get the fans back in and have a great atmosphere. And I certainly think having the fans there as well will help us pick up our first win there before it turns into too much of a monkey on our back.
Yeah. It's a funny one because I think Widnes are due to play there on August the 8th, I think it is, and I hope that Widnes pick up a little bit by then, because I'm sure Widnes will take plenty of fans there. But I think you're right about fans, and I've been wondering about some of the Widnes results, and whether having fans there would make a difference. I know it's the same for everyone, but you do sort of feel maybe there are certain clubs who perhaps do better when there's fans there, if that makes sense. I mean, what do you think about that as a theory?
Definitely 100%. Yeah, the fans do make such a big difference, and players feed off that energy, and like you said, like you're mentioning, like the 70th minute of the game when they're fatigued and when they're blowing and they're struggling to get back behind the line, and when you've got 2,000 or 3,000 of your fans there on the sidelines and behind you cheering you on, then it does give you that lift to see you through to the final game. In 2019, when the Knights first came up into the championship, and we had that incredible season where we ended up finishing third, just behind Toronto and Toulouse, we won so many games by less than one score that year, and the fans did make a big difference in that. They were a positive contribution behind that, and they helped the team in them closing stages, certainly at Bootham Crescent, where it was they were kind of right on top of you in the stands and stuff. And I think hopefully we can replicate that kind of atmosphere in the new stadium, and it will help the players just lift, certainly in the back end of each half.
Yeah, definitely. I think certainly from a Widnes point of view, Dale. I was talking to a few people at the game, and you're a bit like, even when you're getting stick and even when you're getting abuse, it sort of sometimes gets a bit of fire in your belly and spurs you on a little bit. Another thing that Widnes and York have got in common is the 1895 Cup semi-finals. The draw kept us apart, so York play Swinton, don't they, and Widnes have got the plum tie at Featherstone. Are you thinking about Wembley? I mean, that'd be. Widnes obviously played there a couple of years ago, and but I guess for York it'd be a massive sort of fillip for where you're at?
Yeah, well, I mean, as a fan, it's very hard not to think about Wembley. I'm sure if you ask James Ford and the players and that, their focus is just on Widnes this weekend, and then after that they will look at Oldham the week after that. They'll just be taking it one game at a time. I know as the cliche goes, but yeah, it's a great opportunity for all four clubs in the semi-finals and like just in the championship. If you're not on your day on any given Sunday, then you can easily find yourself knocked out. So, and it's a fantastic opportunity, certainly for players at this level. And we at York, we're thankful to have a couple of players that have already played at Wembley in the Challenge Cup in Super League. So, yeah, it's a fantastic opportunity, and one as a fan, I'm certainly really excited about. But obviously, being a lifelong fan of York Rugby League and York sport in general, I know not to get too optimistic about these things. So, but we'll see how it goes.
It promises to be a bit better. I think they're playing it as a curtain raiser this time, aren't they? It was certainly odd. It was odd when Widnes played there a couple of years ago, because obviously it was after the Challenge Cup final, and like sort of all the crowds had gone home.
And I was there, and my ticket for that day for the Challenge Cup final was in the bowl. It was in an area where the sun was baking down on me, and I almost passed out at half time. I actually went and got 4 bottles of water from the kiosk, and they were about £8 each, and I didn't care, and I just bought them, and I just literally poured them over my head because it was that hot in the bowl. And yeah, I'm a rugby league tragic, as well, you know, and even then I couldn't find myself in enough physical shape to stay for the second game, just because it had been so hot during the main game. So
it was just odd. It was odd because it was just like, you know, obviously there was, you know, clearly there was more Widnes fans than Sheffield, but it was just very strange. You know, I don't know how many was there, but let's say there was, I don't know, 6,000 or 7,000 people left in a massive stadium, and it just felt a bit weird. Whereas you could imagine that playing it before the main final, you get the fans coming in, don't you, getting excited for the big game, and the crowd's growing, isn't it, throughout the game? Whereas I think the problem was the crowd was getting less and less as the game went on.
Yeah, definitely. It was very much after the Lord Mayor's show, whereas this year around, as a curtain raiser, it'll be the build up and anticipation will be there, and you'll be able to feel it in the energy of the fans. And we'll probably have by the later stages of the 1895 Cup final.
Yeah, it'll be pretty full.
Maybe 20 or 30,000 in there. So yeah, it could be great.
Yeah, and I mean another issue was that St Helens obviously were heavy favourites and they lost, and I don't think Warrington hadn't travelled particularly well. They hadn't taken many fans that you would expect to Wembley for that day, just because I think they were expecting to get beat, which also impacted it a little bit. I'd imagine if St Helens had won, maybe more would have stayed. You touched upon some of the players that York have signed, you know, for 2021, and clearly there's plenty of recognisable names, you know, in that list. You know, you've got Ryan Atkins, you've got Chris Clarkson, who actually had a spell at Widnes earlier in his career, Adam Cuthbertson, even Kieran Dixon, you know, has made a fair name for himself, Ben Jones-Bishop. Even though you're part-time, these players are obviously coming in off the back of basically being full-time pros for the whole career. What have you noticed any difference in having them? I mean, clearly there's a difference in having them, but is it noticeable that they're now part-time and not full-time, or is that not something you necessarily pick up on?
No, I don't think so at all. I think our fitness is quite well in games. I suppose the best game to have compared it to was when we went down to London in the second week of the season, and they're full-time and we were only part-time, and we went down on the bus that morning and we actually finished the game stronger than them. We actually looked fitter than them in the last 10-15 minutes. So no, I don't think they stepped down from full-time to part-time rugby for them players, so that's that much of an impact. I think they've all got the mind of an athlete, and they all like to keep themselves in good shape anyway. And then when they are in training with the club on a weekday evening and stuff, it is they're there to be coached and to hone their skills rather than to having to do more fitness and things. But also, having said that, the facilities that York City Knights have the luxury of using at York St John University are absolutely fantastic, and I will put them up there with any of the top Super League facilities in the game. So Yeah, I mean, as a club, they've got all the building blocks there to be the best players they can be, certainly within a part-time environment. So, yeah, I don't think fitness has gone down a level at all for these players that step down.
And talk to us a little bit about, is O'Hagan fit now, or is he still out?
I think he's been very close. I think he thought himself he was fit after the first time the hamstring tweaked, which was in the Toulouse game. He then sat out the Sheffield game round 2. No, he sat out the Wigan game and came back for Sheffield after 2 weeks. And he obviously thought himself he was fit, and he went to push off early in that game again, and then he must have felt it re-twinge. So, yeah, I think they've been a bit cautious in bringing him back too soon the second time round. He maybe could have played against Featherstone at the weekend had he really needed to, if it was maybe a grand final or something. But I wouldn't be surprised to see him named against Widnes. But also, having said that, they may want to keep him back another week. You know what, with the dreaded death pitch you guys have got over there.
Yeah. I mean, it's an interesting signing because, you know, clearly he's a bit of he is an unknown to people over here. You know, and I looked at York's recruitment before the season and thought, yeah, they've recruited well, you know, outside, but I just thought maybe in the key positions at fullback and halfback and hooker, maybe they were a bit weaker than some of the other teams. You know, probably even Widnes included. I might want to rethink that opinion now, but it's a bit of a shot not a shot in the dark as such, but it was a bit of a punt to bring him over. But clearly, the short time that we've seen him play, he clearly looks like he's got plenty of ability.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, it was a bit of a punt somewhat, but I think it was a calculated punt because I'm sure John and James Ford will have done their homework on him before they did take the plunge and bring him over. But his resume does speak for itself in the lower grades in Australia for Canberra and for West Tigers, and he played state of origin at under 21s level with like the likes of Ryan Pappenhausen and people like that. So he's played to a decent level when he was developing his rugby league career over there. So. Yeah, he's come to York to try his hand, and I think once he gets a good injury-free run, he showed glimpses of it. Certainly away at Sheffield in the first week of the season in the cup, we put 30 points on them, and he looked almost untouchable at times, like spraying out passes left, right, and centre. He looked great. So yeah, we're excited to see what he can do now that the weather's warming up a little bit, and hopefully he can keep his hamstrings in good check and really show off his skills.
Yeah, and James Ford, of course, joined York from Widnes. Ford played 15 games for Widnes, sort of at the turn of the last decade. Went on and played for York, and then of course became the coach. And I think he's about 6 years in now, isn't he? I think as coach, and he's full time, isn't he, at the club? What does that look? Yeah. What does that look like? As when you've got part time players, what does the full time coach his role look like?
Well, it was a bit of a butterfly effect, wasn't it? So Widnes winning that licence to get into Super League 10 years ago was actually probably one of the best things that could have happened to York City Knights, because we signed him straight off the back of that announcement. We got him and Andy Thackeray that week, I think, once Widnes had secured their Super League status. So it was a good thing for us. And he recently, I think it was last week or the week before, celebrated his 10-year anniversary at the club. So we're thankful for Widnes getting up all them years ago. But yeah, I mean, he's into the third year, I think, of his 3-year deal as the Knights' first ever full-time head coach. He took the plunge. It was a big decision for him to make, because he had a very good career, teaching career at Wakefield College. So yeah, he took the plunge, and he's grasped it with both hands, and he continues to develop as an outstanding coach. I'm convinced he will coach in Super League at some point in his career. Hopefully that will be with York rather than anyone else. But yeah, it is a full hands-on role, and he has a big role in the club, and even day to day he's in the office doing his coaching plans and his preparation for teams that are coming up, and putting his plans and lessons into place for the time that he does have face-to-face with the players in an evening or a Saturday morning on the captain's run. and then other stuff as well. He helps out with the foundation, and he'll do stuff with schools if needed, and things like that, and promotion work and media work. So yeah, I mean, even though he doesn't get face to face with his players all day, every day, like a full-time team, he still has a lot on his plate, and he handles it very well.
Brill, will you be making the trip over, Gav, for the game, or...?
Not for this one, no, I'm afraid. I'll still be watching this one on our league. I've still been watching out with with regards to going to away games and stuff like that. So Joe Smith, who's he's very hands-on, and he's a fantastic addition to the off-field staff at York City Knights. He'll be doing all the media stuff for the Knights at Widnes on Sunday, and I'll be enjoying the action from our league.
Yeah, you can. I don't know who's on commentary on our league, but you can always tune into BBC Radio Merseyside, Gav, because I'm on this week. If you want to listen to that,
that was a seamless link.
Yeah, thanks for joining us, Gav, for this episode. I hope people have enjoyed a bit of an insight into York, and hopefully they go easy on Widnes this weekend after last weekend.
I'm sure it'll be a very close, exciting game. It's one I'm really looking forward to.
The stamp duty holiday is being extended on all properties until the end of June. So if you're thinking of moving house, make sure you instruct your local solicitors, PD Law, for all your conveyancing needs.
Thanks as always to partners PD Law Solicitors, Arnold, Gorse, Financial Management, Parklands FC and Whistle. And we're back in 2 weeks' time for the 50th episode of Widnes Rugby Chat. In the meantime, please do leave some reviews and feedback on wherever you listen to the podcast. And if there's anything you want me to ask or anyone you want me to speak to, please drop me a tweet or a message via the Widnes Rugby site. And I'll see you in 2 weeks' time.